All right, you're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell. The program is Blues Deluxe, and today it's my pleasure to have Libby Rae Watson with me. Hello, Libby.
Hey, John, how's it going up there in Massachusetts?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good down here in Mississippi. I'm down on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, about as far south as you can get here,
You're in
So,
Pascagoula, huh?
Pascagoula, right.
I have a friend who lives there.
Get
And
out.
yeah, I do. And I turned her on to you. She had never heard you. How do you like that?
That's crazy. Well, thank you. And that's just crazy.
And I want to say thank you to Alana Katz for connecting you with me. It was great.
Hard, huh? I
Huh?
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna
It's
be seeing her soon. The Juke Joint Festival's coming up.
next week and up in Clarksville. We'll be actually, she's hosting an event that is going to feature all women in blues, singing. Um, some of them will have bands backing them, and I guess some of them won't. But that's going to be fun. It's going to be at Bluesberry Cafe the Thursday night before the Juke Joint Saturday, which is a week from this Saturday, I guess, the 15th.
Yep.
So we'll be doing the girls' Chicks and Blues on the 13th. So
And
I
you
look.
you've done that all along throughout your career, is supporting women in blues all these years.
Well, I mean, well, I didn't all in my career because I've been doing this so long. I didn't know any other women in blues to support it first. But as I've met them through the years and traveling, and people come from different directions, and you meet them. One good thing about social media is you meet people, and later you might actually meet them in real life, and that's kind of where it was with people like Alana,
Yep.
and it makes it pretty special. When you do actually meet them because you already know you got things in common. So, but yes, it's obvious that it is well past time to recognize the women in the music world of blues.
So you grew up in Mississippi. You originally from Pascagoula?
Originally from Pascagoula. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And and what were you doing when you were growing up? What types of music were you listening to as a kid?
As a young kid, I'm only about 100 miles from New Orleans. So I had a little transistor radio, that you hold to your ears, you bebop around, and I listened to an AM station called WTIX. I thought everybody in the world listened to that same station. I didn't have a concept of how music, stations went.
Yep.
So I grew up listening to people like Ernie Cato and the Neville Brothers, and Irma Thomas, and people like that. That was the music of my young age. I had older brothers and sisters, and so their music became part of my music too. So I actually probably know things or heard things that were beyond the years of my age.
So how'd you end up in the blues? What was it that got you started?
Well, I can't pinpoint a one single thing. There were several things together, but the British invasion. I was listening to it without knowing I was listening to it. You know what I mean? I was listening to Mississippi music through British groups and didn't realize that. And I bought a little music book one time. It had country blues in it, and the song titles I was just enamored by them, and it kind of captivated me because it was, people like Mississippi John Hurt in there with, just the songs and stuff that they did. And I had not heard that kind of stuff before. So that was interesting. I still didn't really get to hear too much of the music because I didn't know how to go get a Mississippi John Hurt album in Pascagoula, Mississippi. I could get the Allman Brothers and people like that were doing Blind Willie McTell songs and stuff, but not that kind of music, until I was a little older and could drive and sneak over to New Orleans and buy stuff.
There's some great pictures of you with old blues guys on your website when you were a young girl. Tell me
Yeah.
about those.
Most of those were taken from about 1907 to about maybe mid 80s. Um, and I lost so many pictures because the water's right across the street. I lost a lot of pictures in Hurricane Katrina, almost 2 decades ago now. But the few that I salvaged and saved are the ones that you see. And it's people like Big Joe Williams, going to see Big Joe was a trip. And, he didn't mentor me, so to speak. A lot of people say, oh, yes, you learned from Big Joe. No, I never said that, never really did, as far as music goes. But I learned a lot from Big Joe, you know. So it wasn't always about music, it was about life in general and things like that, But I wrote a song, and it's on the She Shimmy album, about the first day I met him, and that's basically what the song is about.
What's the name of that song?
Big Joe.
Big Joe.
Yep.
And what did you learn from Big Joe? Yeah, outside of music, what did you learn from him?
Well, I learned that he could. Well, he was a little tough to handle sometimes, so you just had to have some patience, you know. And just telling stories about things and about people, and it kind of teaches you what kind of guy he was. He didn't take anything off of anybody. He had no education really, but he walked around with a wallet that the size of 3 bricks. It barely fit in his pocket, full of money. So he for somebody who came from nothing, he traveled the world, with his talent and his music, and he was smart like that too. He knew how to work it, and he knew how to get places, I think, and get what he wanted, most of the time. Now, of course, he still gets ripped off like a lot of them, like most of them did. But he was one of the few that could make some money off of it. Didn't just get taken,
Then what about Sam Chatmon? He's another one.
Sam Chatmon's a whole different side of the page from Big Joe. He was just a gentleman, man. And I met him similar way. Just went to his house, knocking on his door, and we hit it off right off the bat. We hit it off for probably a few different reasons, but the main thing was, we were talking about, and I was like, well, how old are you? He said, I was born in 1899. And I said, well, everything says you were born in 1897 in the book history things I've read. And he said, I ought to know when I was born. I said, okay, 1899. So, and I said, well, what was your birthday? And his birthday is January 10th and mine's January 5th. So we kind of bonded on our birthdays being 5 days apart too. Yeah. But
he was a member of the Mississippi Sheiks, correct?
Correct. That's right. He and his brothers and Lonnie and Bo Carter and Lonnie Chatmon. But yeah, so Sam became more of a close friend, really. I did not ask him to show me anything, but he would show me things, on the guitar musically. And sometimes it would be out of frustration because there would be a room full of 3 or 4 guys, going, show me this, all talking to him at the same time. And I could just see the look on his face. I can read people's faces pretty good because I was a dental hygienist for 30 years, and you kind of learn how to read people's, body motions and movements and stuff. And I could read frustration that day on his face. He was getting aggravated at all the questions. And finally, he just said, you boys need to get on out of here. I'm going to show her something. So, they left, and he sat down and showed me a song. He called it Whiskey Blues. And I went home and I worked on it. And I came back and to Hollandale and was trying to play it for him, and I said, Sam, I just can't play it exactly like you can play it. And he says, well, you ain't supposed to play it exactly like me. You ain't, you know. I was like,
Yeah.
whoo, took the heat off, and now I know. He said, you take the song and you make it yours. So the things I do that are his are pretty close, but they're not exact. Some one of those perfectionist kinds of people would sit there and go, well, he goes to the other chord there. And it's like, well, maybe he does. I don't, you know.
Well, you have your own style too. I was reading about
Well, I guess. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
your own. Just like he
That's,
said, you want to do it yourself, right? You have your
yeah,
own style, basically.
yeah, I guess so. Mainly because I can't do it his way. Figure it out myself.
And you were friends with him all the way to his death,
Right.
correct?
Yes.
And you played at his funeral. I read. I was like, wow, that was nice.
That was a hard day. Yeah, a friend of mine and I we were driving, trying to get to Hollandale because we had heard through some mutual friends that he wasn't doing well, and he was in the hospital, and we better get up there. So we drove as fast as we could, but by the time we got there, he had passed away.
Wow. So tell me when you actually started playing acoustic on your own. I know you had bands over the years. You've had bands here and there.
Yeah, I played acoustic since I was in junior high. Really. I have 5 brothers and sisters, and none of them are musical at all. So uh, when I was young, and I'm the youngest of the 6 of us, and so when I was real young, my mother died when I was 5. So there were some, neighborhood people that tried to step in and step up and all that. And one of them was a woman who kind of recognized a musical ability that I had. So she signed me up for piano lessons when I was about 4th or 5th grade, and uh, I found out then that I really liked music. So that led to another thing, and led to getting a cheapo guitar and playing, Michael rowed the boat ashore or whatever. Just trying to learn chords and trying to play with other people and things like that. And I guess I was probably in about 10th grade or so, maybe the 9th grade or somewhere in between, when started really tuning into some of the older stuff with. I think it was 1970 or 71 when that Muddy Waters London Sessions came out. I remember tuning into that album big time, and then I realized that those people that were singing those songs of the old blues guys, that those old blues guys lived in Mississippi. Duh. And I spent the first part of my youth wanting to get out of Mississippi, and then from the time I figured out it was a cool place to be, I was like, yeah,
I want to stay.
I'm staying. Yeah.
Let's talk about Muddy Waters. You have some 45s I saw. You had him sign. When was that?
I had 278 records.
78.
Yes, and he was playing at the Delta Blues Festival in Greenville early on in that festival. Somebody reminded me that it must have been 81, which sounds about right. So I thought I could get him to sign. And so, we got back there and got where we could get them to him and hand them to him. I was standing right beside this guy that was, said, here, she's got these. She would like you to autograph. And he was like, oh, yeah, And he signed the first one. He went to sign the second one, and it cracked. So it said mud. He never got the Y. And he wrote Waters before it just fell into pieces, in three pieces.
You still have it though, I bet.
I think I have it somewhere. It seems like I found it after the hurricane. I just hadn't gone and looked again, you know.
They're worth money, I bet now.
Well, maybe so, you know, maybe so.
So
Yeah,
tell me about the Liberators. That was one of the bands you were part of.
yeah, that was it. You know, we did not do blues. We did all kind of original stuff that's more in the flow of living on the Gulf Coast here. You know, uh, not really Jimmy Buffett like, but songs about being on the water, and not all of them are like that. Not all of them are about the water, but they were all original songs, and you know they're still out there on I think Reverb Nation. You can listen to them. But I had a ton of the CDs that they all got stuck together in that hurricane. It was kind of a big old mess. So,
So you started doing more solo work after that, around what is 2013, 2014. You started winning some of these blues challenges you were part of.
yeah, I actually did some solo stuff even when the band was going on. I played King Biscuit one year and did a couple of solo gigs, but mostly at home we did the band. But yeah, I played the Sam Chatmon Festival again for the first time in years when they cranked it back up. And the guy that does it, his name's Roy Schilling, uh, got in touch with me about playing the festival, you know. So I started there, and from there, some people at the Indianola Blues Society heard me and asked me if I would be interested in coming and doing their competition. I thought, what the heck, you know, might as well. First time I did it, I came in second, and then I did it 2 other years, and one by myself and one with a partner, a friend of mine named Wes Lee, and he and I did a duo there, and so we made it to the finals that year. We didn't win, but we made it to the finals. But yeah, so and
Eh,
that's a big international blues challenge in Memphis. So we got to do the main stage at the Orpheum, and you know,
Look,
all fun.
this is from this year's. I was there because I got the KBA this year for.
I was there at that Women in Blues showcase thing in the that they had at Alfred's.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So you were a finalist in 2018 at the International Blues Challenge. What was that like to be a finalist after
Kind of
competing?
surreal, you know. It really was kind of surreal. Honestly, I don't take those things very seriously. I don't know how accurate they even are. You know, it was just something to do to network and meet a lot of people. And I've met people by going to Memphis every year and supporting the Blues Challenge. I've met people that have become my friends for life. You know, we competed together, maybe against each other in the challenge, but we hooked up, became, you know, close friends, and you know, still are. So you know, it was more about that than it is about me winning anything ever. It's more about the experience of being there and, you know, meeting people and hoping they like you. That's all you can do.
Well, let's talk about the two recordings you have.
Okay.
The first one was with Wes.
Yeah. Actually, I had one before that called Sweet and Salty, but it was all analog tapes that were probably 35, 40 years old and had been underwater.
Wow.
I needed something quick and fast for a thing I was doing in Canada, and
Yeah.
that's what it was. But then, yeah, Wes and I did a thing because we needed a CD for our competition. But before that, I also played with a group called the Jericho Roadshow.
Yep.
That's Steve Gardner, who lives in Japan, and Bill Steber, and it was Wes at one time, but Wes is now retired from playing on the road. He does musical instrument repair and stuff now. But the Jericho Roadshow, we did a CD together, and we did a little tour for 2 months that the state of Mississippi sent us around on different little towns and places just to kind of introduce the people of Mississippi to what is in their home state and how important the music is to the world. So and then I went the She Shimmy CD. Um, I, I have a friend named Bert Divert, who I met online again through both had our interest in Sam Chatmon, and so we would talk through Messenger back and forth because he's in Sweden. And I got a message from him one time. He said, "Hey, what do you think about coming over here and do a little tour?" I had never met him. We'd never played together. I mean, like, okay, So we started working online, trying to pick out songs that we'd be doing and stuff like that. But when I arrived in Sweden, I arrived late one night. He picked me up. That's when I met him. We had one day to go over everything, and then we opened up the WUML Blues Festival, which is the biggest blues festival in Switzerland. We were the opening act for the festival, so it was a kind of nail biter.
What was that like for you to go all the way over there and open a big festival like that? You hadn't done that before, right?
I had not done that, no, and it was great. It was so much fun. We played in the coolest venue. It was this old church that they had converted into this music. It was just great, packed out and all that. We had fun. It was a lot of fun.
And that was before COVID, just before COVID, right?
For COVID, because when I was there, Bert and I got together and recorded the vocal tracks and the guitar shimmy. And then when I came back home, we worked on it and we got, people to play different parts and had it all mixed and mastered and everything. And got it in the mail, got the box, and COVID hit.
And what happened then? When you came back and you were stuck because no one was doing anything at that point.
Yeah, I didn't do much.
Were you keeping busy online, or what were you doing? Were you writing music?
A little bit, yes, and but I didn't, I didn't do things like I should have, like dive into something like a lot of people did, whether it's exercise or whatever. If I dove into anything, it was like just nature and being outside because I just couldn't stand being confined and not going anywhere. So I'm fortunate we have a lot of outdoor hiking trails and stuff nearby where I can get out.
That's
Kind of
good.
nature girl anyway, so I
So
like.
you mentioned Sweden. Now I read somewhere else that you did a tour of Canada too a while back.
Yeah, that was the one that we did the Sweet and Salty CD. I did the Sweet and Salty CD for that tour. That was in 2013, and I toured with a guy named Doc McLean. Doc is also knew Sam Chatmon. He and another friend named Colin Linden
Yeah, I know him.
were the Barbecue Boys of the Sam Chatmon and the Barbecue Boys album. So I knew both Doc and Colin from that, and Doc invited me to come up and play a little tour. So I went up there for about 3 weeks, and we drove all over doing house concerts, festivals, small venues, anything.
Everything revolves back to Sam Chatmon, doesn't it?
It really does. I tell people all the time at my shows. I go, I'm going to play you a Sam Chatmon song because I can't be in public here without talking to you about Sam.
That's great. So tell me about She Shimmy a little bit. That came out last year.
Well, it came
And
out in 20 actually.
2020. Okay. I thought it was last year, but yeah, that's a couple years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, we tried to start promoting it when we got it in 2020. It was March.
And you have special guests on that one too, I saw.
Got a few special guests on that one. We got some of my friends I play with over here, and of course, Bert has done a CD before with Eric Bibb, and so that was the connection we had with Eric and his wife Ulrika Bibb, and they gracefully said they would perform on one of the songs for us, and And then I'm friends with Charlie Musselwhite, so I asked him, what are the chances that he'd play a song on my CD? And he said, I'll do one. And
There you
so
go.
so he did the one that's called Blue Steel, and it's about a hoodoo man. He has a song called Blue Steel too, and it's really about the same guy, my song and his song. But it's a Blue Steel was a hoodoo man that Big Joe Williams knew, and that was Charlie's connection and my connection to Blue Steel.
What's the blues scene like where you are right now in Pascagoula and in the Gulf Coast? Is there any?
Not really.
Not really. Really?
I mean, they have the new Ground Zero in Biloxi. I don't really go over there much because it's just too much traffic and casinos are all over there. That's mainly the reason I don't go over there. But a lot of the places here are singer-songwriter or things like that they're, Jimmy Buffett kind of stuff. And I'm sure there are probably some other things that I don't even know about because I don't go out when I get home. I'm pretty much home.
Yeah. So tell me about the festivals in Mississippi. There's the
Oh,
Juke Joint and the Delta Blues Festival, and
okay. I will say this about live music here. I did just go see Marcia Ball play here in Pascagoula, and that happens very rarely. So,
how
Marcia
was
Ball,
that? I bet you she was great.
fantastic. Absolutely. She's always great. So, the question was about Juke Joint and
The festivals you've been involved with
well, I
in
can't wait.
Mississippi, the Mississippi festivals, basically.
There's several. There's one coming up. Well, of course, Juke Joint Festival. Then this just become bigger and bigger every year, and that's in downtown Clarksdale and all around town for about 3 or 4 days. And you got to plan early if you're from out of town and want a place to stay. You better start planning about a year out because it's that popular, and the town fills up and it's just a lot of fun. But right after that, I'm going to be playing a small little festival up in Leland, Mississippi, and I love these small town festivals, and I think they need more of our support to keep them going. But Leland is a big, his blues wise, very important town, and Eugene Powell lived in around Leland and Greenville area, and son Thomas, James' son Thomas was from Leland, and Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter was from Leland, Mississippi. You
Yeah.
know, um, there's just a lot of. So I'm playing a couple of festivals there in Leland throughout this year. One in the spring, I think, one in the fall, and then there's the Sam Chatmon Festival in Hollandale, which is just like a big family festival. It's just so much fun. It's right in downtown Hollandale, and it to me it's one of the better. It's really mostly all black audience, and I love the fact that the hometown folks come out for that festival because most of the festivals, they're majority white, and so I like seeing that too. I like seeing the colors. So and then there's let's see, what else have I got going on? Um, I hardly play little clubs. I play a few that I kind of handpick because of the people who own them or because they have cool entertainment and they appreciate music, the people that come to them. King Biscuit's another big one. It's a very big festival that they have there. There's one I'm leaving out. Oh, Mississippi Hill Country, the Hill Country Picnic up in around Waterford, Mississippi, north of Oxford. That's the one Kenny Brown and his wife put on every year. And it's a big family time too. People like, Cedric Burnside and Luther Dickinson and people like that have been coming. I mean, they're family there. We're all family there at that picnic. A lot of fun.
And then you get up to Memphis at all to play in any of the places in Memphis?
I get up to Memphis maybe once or twice a year. I have a friend up there. I've played a little bit north of Memphis, but Memphis proper, except for doing a radio show or two kind of things and playing at the Women in Blues things or the Blues Challenge. Not really, but that doesn't mean that can't change. And I have a friend up there that we've been talking about doing something um, around Memphis at some of the places he knows about.
How about Nashville? That's not too far either.
A little far for me. Yeah,
Right, I know it's far, but if there
yeah.
was something there, you'd go and play. I bet.
Maybe. My two friends that I play with live up around that area in Murfreesboro. Um, Bill Stevens, Sammy Baker, and Sam Rorix all live there, and we play together with another friend named Austin Walking Kane and a friend named Walker T. Ryan, who are both great guitarists in their own right. And we have a group that once a year, when we all make it to Clarksdale, we call ourselves the Stoop Down Rounders. So
That's a great name.
yeah, the Stoop Down Rounders are going to be at the Juke Joint Fest this year.
I had an interview with the Mule Man last week, and he had a lot to talk about. You know him too.
Oh yeah, he's great. I love Mark.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
I hadn't seen him in a little bit. I used to see him a lot because he had the regular spot at Reds, he and Billy Earhart, but they don't do that anymore. They passed the torch, and he's been doing some gigs up in D.C. area, hasn't he? He's done some.
Yeah, and he just came back from Chicago. He was at Buddy Guy's last weekend or the weekend
Yeah,
before.
love him. He's funny. He's a funny guy.
He's a great guy. He was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, how do people find out about you? You have a website.
Wait a minute, I got to tell you about one more festival.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Because I don't know how I can forget this one. Mississippi has a lot of festivals. I'm telling you, don't just look for the bigger ones. Look around for the small ones. They're a lot of fun. In Bentonia, the Bentonia Blues Festival with Jimmy Duck Holmes.
Yeah, there you go.
That is a man. If you haven't been to the Blue Front Cafe in Bentonia, you ain't been nowhere. And if you hadn't been there for one of their festivals, you don't know what it's. You don't know nothing.
It's a small one though, right?
A very small one, and you couldn't get any more fun packed in a small festival. Love
Great.
fun.
So, how do people find out about you?
How do they?
Yep.
Well,
You have a website. I know that.
I do have a website. I'm not real good at it. I try to do better, but I'm just not. Most of the stuff's on Facebook, through that or Instagram, and
So it's LibbyRaeWatson.com, right?
LibbyRae.com.
LibbyRae.com. Okay.
Yeah, I mean Ray is R-A-E. And
Yep.
Libby
LibbyRae.com, right?
right. That's it, John. That's
And
it.
you're on Facebook and those social media sites as well.
Things, yeah, those
How do
things.
people get your music? From the website or?
Through the website or at gigs mostly.
Oh, you
I,
sell right off the stage. That's good.
yeah, oh yeah. That's how most of us have to do it. Really.
How about new music? The last album came out a few years ago. Are you looking at another record maybe?
I've got a list of songs started, and I know I need to do it, and I'm trying to figure out how I want to shape it and where I want to record it.
Any place specifically you want to record?
No, I have some friends that have recording studios. It's just, you want to be sure that you don't do anything that interferes with friendship. So you got to keep everything out on the table. Don't,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But I don't know. I've got a couple of places I'm thinking about. I just got to get the songs in my head first, And it may be, I'm trying to decide whether I want to do mostly all originals, or if I want to do just some weird covers.
Some weird covers. Tell me about weird covers. What types of covers you thinking about doing?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Some of the things I write are kind of weird, but let's see.
Just tell me one. How's that?
How about the Sonny Bono song, Bang Bang?
That is a funny song, right?
But I can do it.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just something unexpected. Every now and then I'll whip that one out, and everybody goes, "Wow, where'd that come from?"
Come from. Yep.
You know.
Well, Libby, I just want to say thank you very much for taking some time out. I know you had to get back home. You were away and had to
I
drive back.
I had the day in New Orleans today, so and honestly, I cannot stand driving an interstate. If you ever follow me on any of my social stuff, you'll see me off on a back road somewhere because unless I have to, I'm not driving interstate. So I just take the old road. So it takes me probably 3 times longer to get somewhere, but I don't care.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out, and I want
Thank
my listeners to learn about you, and they're gonna this weekend. How's that?
All right, John. Well, thank you so much for taking an interest, and Alana, thank you for putting us together and hooking us up. I appreciate you so much for, exposing people like you say that don't get the exposure. And that's
They
important.
don't, and it's great because my listening audience gets to, they listen to the regular stuff that I get to play that comes through the radio station. But when I went to Memphis this year, I mean, I connected with a bunch of artists and musicians when I was there. And Alana was telling me about all of you guys that are down in Mississippi that I didn't know about. And I went, you know what? I'm going to introduce them to my listening audience now, too.
That's much appreciated. Yes, sir.
So anytime, if you ever come up to the, East Coast, Massachusetts area, and come on into the studio, I'll bring Alana in, too. The two of you can come in and play. How's that?
If I come up there, I'm gonna have to be staying with her, so she and I are gonna have to come in there.
There you go.
Sorry, Alana, you don't have a house guest.
Well, I want to say thanks again, and thank you for everything that you've done all these years to support the blues.
Oh well, you too. I mean, good Lord, yes, thank you.
Thank you, and continue to keep Sam Chatmon's light lit around the world.
Oh, I can't help but do that. That's just a given. Try
Well,
to
that's
do.
great, and thank you again.
All right, thank you, John.
Have a good one. Nice
Bill,
talking to you.
you too.
All right, we'll see
Bye.
you. Bye bye.